While it's rare, every so often we get to see a company really speed run destroying their reputation. We saw that again this weekend with the game engine called Godot, which was meant to be something to have people flock around that were not interested in using something like Unreal or Unity. Got especially a lot of attention when Unity was trying to add a lot of shady practices to take as much money from their consumers of the engine as possible. And I hadn't looked at it too much. I'm mostly, as a games engineer, someone that works in Unity, a lot of stuff in the cloud, more recently Unreal Engine. But I got caught up a lot this weekend. And today we're going to talk about not so much the drama side, because I'm going to leave that to some of the individuals that are better at sleuthing than I am. Like, I personally watched Asmongold's take on it, as well as a take from Rev Says Desu. So I'm going to mostly focus on a TLDR and then talk about what this means for you guys as consumers of video games, how this is going to impact the engine from a software engineer perspective. So first off, tweet goes out on the 27th saying, apparently game engines are woke now. Well then, we won't complain. Show us your woke-ot games below. This would lead to a lot of individuals complaining and saying, hey, this is a really something that's going to divide the community. We should keep politics out of the game engine, because the game engine should just be a tool, because that's all it is there for. It is there for indie developers in particular to pick up this technology and work on it. This Twitter account will be run by an individual that goes by Nat. They are a she and they. And she and they would start blocking anyone that had any kind of criticism, saying that they should not be making these kinds of posts. This would bleed into the unofficial Discord, where one of the individuals there by the name of Xananax, a he and him, would go off and say that if anyone so much as leaves an emoji, they will be banned, and that you may not speak about this at all. He would go on to warn a bunch of individuals in the Discord, start a banning spree there. And while this individual goes by he and him right now, in the past they used to go by in and word, which ended up being a most surprising discovery, considering this had been the official Discord until just recently. With all of this, this would cause a firestorm on Twitter, where individuals would start posting how disappointed they were in the engine, and it would force the individuals at the Godot Foundation to make a statement where they effectively said that this initial tweet led to a wave of harassment directed at our staff and community, and that they unequivocally condemn this abuse. They would also talk about this individual named Xananax and insist, while the language was terrible, this was not an official Discord, and you should go to the official Discord. Now, people would point out quite correctly that this unofficial Discord was the official Discord until just recently, and that if you actually read these statements, it treats it as if they have done nothing wrong in all of this. That all of this was just everyone else's fault because they didn't appreciate putting politics in a video game engine. Now, there's a lot more there that you can go to various other channels to talk about. I would point out, if you look at a lot of the Twitter discourse, you're not going to see a lot of software engineers complaining. And that's pretty expected. So if we look at demographics for software engineers using the website Zippia, we see that 78% of software engineers are male. As far as the racial demographics, 48.5% are white, 34% are Asian, and the average software engineer age is 39. Now, for a lot of not just game companies, but software companies in general, a lot of them have DEI departments that are now put inside them. And DEI departments, they are there to add, basically push racial quotas for certain companies. And to get those quotas filled, they need to get rid of the wrong people. The wrong people are males that are white or Asian, because they are, well, they're not the right people. So for a lot of these people that see this kind of stuff on Twitter, that are seeing this stuff on GitHub, they're not going to like it, but they're not going to say anything. The average age is close to 40. And by that point, a lot of these individuals are going to have families they need to support. And it is not worth it to get a couple of Twitter likes and risk having some activist that works at your company see that and then go to their DEI departments or their HR departments and say, that they feel unsafe and threatened because somebody didn't support the message. It's just not worth it. It's all risk and it's no reward for a lot of these individuals. And for some of these people, they're not big on social media anyway. So putting out a statement, unless they're already established or even working in their own company, it's just not going to have much of an impact. There's no reason to do it. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to ignore it. For people that are games engineers that are going to recommend people engines, if they come to us and say, hey, should I be using Godot? I heard it's like free and has all these special things. We're going to equivocally say no. Because when we see these projects, so Godot, just to put some technical stuff out there, Godot is an open source project, which means that it counts on people from all over the internet to come together and contribute to this code project. What they are doing now with ejecting people that do not share their worldviews is they have permanently fractured this project. You're going to have some individuals that will die on this hill of Godot because it's pushing the message. You'll have some people that kind of don't care, and they're just like, look, this project has bugs in it. Let's fix those bugs because they're already working on it. And then you're going to have some individuals that are of the wrong type that are going to say, I don't support this anymore. You've got some that have already forked this project. Forking a project on GitHub means that you take that code repository at a specific point in time and you basically move it to a different owner. And that's okay to do for open source projects because it's open source. Everyone's contributing to it. If you look on GitHub right now, a lot of people have already forked it, and that's fine. That's how all these open source projects go. What this is going to mean for this particular engine that currently has bugs and issues in it is all of these issues are going to start not getting solved, or it's getting solved at a rate that is way slower than it is right now. What this means for you guys is a lot of games that are going to be coming out in the next year and a half that are committed to this engine. They've already put in a lot of time. They've put in a lot of effort into making their games on Godot. While they may not even support all this stuff going out through Godot, they're committed. They can't restart. They can't lose all that work. So now they're just kind of stuck saying, well, I hope someone fixes these issues before we're ready to go to production with our project. But it's unclear. They can probably eventually get it fixed, but it's going to take way longer. It's going to take them way more time. So a lot of these games that you guys would be receiving in the near-ish future to like a year out, it's going to be pushed a lot further. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but the AAA market has been kind of bad. The indie market has really been carrying the games industry. And now a lot of these indie games that we could have been playing, in the near future, well, they're all pushed off because virtue signaling. It was more important to push a message. And when people said, hey, you shouldn't do that, these individuals took it as an existential threat, decided not to debate it, and to just attack anyone around them and burn down their own house. So we can look at a page for funding for Godot. The funding side, it has a little over 1,500 people that are contributing and 18 sponsors. A lot of this is a recurring monthly membership. We're not going to find out until the end of October how many people actually cut their support of the program. So we're just going to have to wait and see what that kind of financial impact is for them over time. Now, as for the people that are most affected by this, it's going to be the indie developers. The indie developers, a lot of them have already put a great deal of time building their games through this engine. And with this kind of firestorm that has been caused, that has split the community that is contributing to this engine, a lot of these indie devs are they're hosed. They're going to be dealing with an engine that has bugs in it, and some of those bugs may not get fixed because the people that would have fixed them are the wrong people according to Godot. It's really awful. A lot of people moved over to Godot after Unity tried to do a runtime fee. So you had some people that scrapped their Unity projects because they were relatively new, switched over to Godot, hoping that that would be the safe place, because an open source project, it wouldn't have greed being the big driver. But now we don't have greed being the driver. We have crazy ideology being the big driver instead. And it sucks for those individuals. My heart goes out to them. I hope they can stay motivated, get it done so that they can move on to a better engine. There are some people that are talking about taking this open source project. They've already forked it and then trying to collect enough people that are willing to develop it to cause the least amount of impact to a lot of these indie developers. And if enough people moved over to that engine or to that organization that's going to be handling that open source support, that would actually be a huge win for a lot of these indie devs that are currently in a state of limbo. But it's going to be a bit of time before we find out how much support this particular group actually gets and able to support those indie developers. But that's all I have for this tonight. It's a really terrible situation. I am going to post in the description. There is a individual that responded to a Grums tweet that gave a huge breakdown about the how he saw Godot get really politicized over the past 6 months. I read through the whole thing. It was really fascinating. Give it a look if you are interested to see kind of how this this disaster really took root over time. But that's all I got to say on this for tonight. Thank you for your time. Feel free to subscribe for other games related content, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Farewell.